Welcome, Jemimah. Thanks for coming on board for an episode of the Dev Ready podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm psyched to be here.
It's a pleasure. I'll let you introduce yourself just so then I don't wreck anything.
Yeah, that's fair. My name is Jemimah Ashleigh. I'm the founder of the Visibility Lab. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs who are amazing at what they do, but no one knows who they are, get seen, get visible. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a keynote speaker. I have secured about $2 million in funding for brands and for partnerships deals. I've been interviewed about 500 times, and we have worked with, got about $5 million in sales for clients. So a bit of a history in the visibility field, if you will.
I say more than a bit. some impressive numbers there.
Thank you.
So for those listening, probably just that initial spiel will just say you're in sort of like marketing.
Yeah.
How
so
would you go beyond that?
Yeah. So we are a beautiful hybrid of business coaching with a real focus on that amplification. So I've always really loved helping businesses grow. I really wanted to help them get a really good product. I really want to help them build like a really reputable brand. But it came down to there was always some gaps. So it was around their personal brand being the first one. I don't know about you, Anthony, but I'm sure that you've had a couple of businesses and been involved in a few things. How do you take that legacy with you? And the biggest, easiest way to do that is have a personal brand as well. We also look at high-level network. You are the sum of the people you spend the most time with. We make sure that you're in the right rooms, that you do networking. We help you build a social media strategy that's not terrible and that's not boring and actually converts. We really then focus on getting media and PR pitches, getting on podcast, TV, print media, whatever that is, and then really heavily focusing on awards and speaking opportunities. So we take what you're doing really well and let everyone else know it exists.
Yeah. So how do you make it not boring? I'll put that as the first question.
For social media, this is where people get social media wrong. They post stuff about like, buy my thing, or they don't do that at all. And they just say, we're great, we're amazing, you should come and work with us. What can I buy from you? What are you actually trying to sell me? What is the steps in this process? Or a lot of people just never even try to make the sale. So there's a few things that we'd add in here. Is one, you have to be an expert in whatever you do social media in. It surprises me how many people never talk about what they actually do and what problem they solve. The next thing we want you to do is build your CRM and actually do sales posts. Do you have an event coming up? Do you have a webinar? Do you have something I can buy from you? A book? Every one of those steps towards is another step for that bigger sale. The third one is personal. You have to get clear that people buy from people. They don't buy from businesses. And they get really, they want to know that it's you at the end of the day there. So we want to make sure that we can actually put that forward. The next thing that we look at is making sure you're putting some inspiration in there. You have to have some testimonials and you have to have third-party validation. You need to have this hybrid so it's not just a wall of why we are the best, or worse, just a wall of sales.
So where would sort of the thought leadership fit into those two streams?
Yeah, really the expert is where that comes out. The thought leadership part is where everyone needs to make their mark. You're an expert in whatever area you're in, but you're an expert because you do things a little bit different than everyone else. And that's where we have to flex that muscle, right? We actually have to be, this is why we think differently. This is why we do differently. And that's where we show that thought leadership. The great thing is media then cares. Podcasts want to talk to you. Awards want to recognize that. Social media, people actually want to share those posts. It's those very boring, vanilla, boring posts that we're like, oh, set and forget. We're not interested in that.
Yep.
We want to have a bit of spice to this, right? We want to have some opinions. We want people to have their thought leadership. It's very important.
So do you find that people resonate more with sort of the personal brand, or is it more if it's all one way, it doesn't work, if it's all one and then the other way, it doesn't work either? So what's that like mix? Yeah,
the mix is hard because there's obviously often so tethered, right? There is often so many moments where people are, my business works in visibility. I love speaking about visibility. It's very easy to hire Jemimah Ashleigh to do a speaking engagement or a podcast. Really hard to get the Visibility Lab to come and do it. So yeah, it's like, right? People don't think about this. And it's, you do have to have these separate entities. They're very important, but it is very important to also remember that at the end of the day, you really have to be showcasing both your strengths, your business's strengths.
Yep.
But people are always going to buy from you. As an example, Anthony, I've got a question for you. Who is the founder of Facebook?
Zuckerberg wrote the code.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
I thought that was a trick question for a second.
Not a trick question. Not a trick question. Why do you know his name?
We know his name. I'm going to say the movie. More than
Yeah,
anything.
usually. Quick question for of course. The Social Network. Can I ask you a question? Who funded most of that movie?
That movie, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was Mark Zuckerberg. Final question for this round is who is the owner of Myers or BP?
Don't know.
Exactly. Personal brand is important. And I've just really laid it out in very clear terms why. If you logged in, Mark Zuckerberg and his partner got married. They've been together since university.
Yep.
They got married. They got pregnant. She lost the baby. They had another baby. I think, had another child since then. If you logged in on that 48-hour window before that announcement to here, you got that post. 100% of people that logged in, that was the first post that they saw. Why? They're trying to make him the front of it. They're trying to make it show you that he's a family man, that there's more to him, that there's that Meta is more than just a company. We're trying to put faces to that and humanizing that, because otherwise they're just a company that we're giving all this free data to.
Yep.
We have to be very mindful of it. So personal brand is, in fact, very, very important with what you're building, especially if you're trying to leave that legacy piece. It's why we know Steve Jobs' name. It's why if I asked you who the founder of Samsung is, most people go, I don't know, for a real reason.
Yep. Okay. But then how do you sort of balance that with how Elon Musk dominates his name over any brand, really? Because I think that there's two very different sort of personal brand takes there.
Yes, absolutely. The other extreme link of that is something like Donald Trump, where you have it's become a world of itself. We very early on ask all of our clients to do one really simple exercise, and it's called the 10 things. This is what you want to be known for. This is the legacy you're trying to build, and you get very clear about that, and then you do it on repeat. Where you start to look at things like Elon Musk, who, his thing is I'm a thought leader. Going to change, like he literally put a chip in someone's brain recently and made him actually speak. He was a quadriplegic who had no verbal skills anymore. That is absolutely incredible, but he was often overshadowed by some of the more insane stuff that is broken out in the media. And that's why it's important to be very clear on what you're trying to build and curating that very, very heavily. I think personal brand is overlooked. And I think the legacy of what we're trying to build is sometimes underlooked, and it can be from a distance we can't see it yet. So we have to be very mindful what we're posting in the hills and the thought leadership that we're choosing. All of this stuff should be very, very carefully curated. You have to be very careful what you put out, because once that microphone's in your hand and you say something, you can't ever get those words back again.
Yeah, once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, for sure. I've watched people ruin their career by an off-the-cuff comment, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, that was like the Woolworth CEO a month or two ago, whenever it was.
So about the Kellogg's guy when he was like, everyone should eat cereal for breakfast or dinner? Is that guy?
No, I didn't see him. No, the actual Woolworth CEO, when he was interviewed about the price gouging, and then he had a planned retirement announced a week later.
Yeah, Kellogg's got into some real trouble. I think it was a Kellogg's CEO who came out and said, what about the housing crisis, like the cost of living crisis is happening? It's really bad. What are we going to do? And he was like, eat cereal for breakfast, for dinner. Like, have cereal. It's good for you. And it's like, how delusional are you?
Yep.
So, yeah, these people, again, one comment
and that's
can take entire game over. And that's why you have good PR people who are in your corner going, don't say that, please.
Yeah, you need to have that advice and direction.
Call me. Please call me.
What do you see as a difference then for, say, a person starting their own business, their brand and their personal brand and their business brand probably going to be very much one and the same? There's very early stages as a consultant. But then
for sure,
if you get to like a corporate level or a bigger organization, how does it change, or how should you be positioning this?
Yeah, so this is where we often need to sit down with people and go, where are you going with this? Because one of the things that we see this quite regularly with entrepreneurs and business owners who start their business and they're like, loving what I'm doing, and they are the business at one point. And it's around the 150,000 mark that we start to have to really pull them apart. The business needs to be operational here, and you have to be separate to that. Because like I said, Jemimah, Ashleigh, very easy to get on a podcast. Hiring the Visibility Lab, much harder to get on a podcast. So we have to start pulling that apart a bit. Where we have to have alignment is in the values and in the things that we want to talk about and the things that we teach, because that's important. As soon as it starts to be deviating, they're becoming very, very separate. Where corporates get involved and where we have to be clear about that is almost knowing how you want to come across in the workforce and what you want to be known for in the workforce. I think with corporates particularly, it's overlooked until it's too late. That's where, sometimes I had a co-worker once when I worked in government where he said to me once about his kid's birthday. I'd known this man for 3 years. He'd never mentioned that he had children. Not once. His wife, he'd gotten married, gotten pregnant, and had a kid all in the time that I'd known him. And he was like, this is not the place for me to share this stuff. Not saying that's right or wrong. That was definitely his choice. But again, his personal brand was really into very private. Do not. I have the most boundaries ever. And I think being very clear about that, especially when you're working in a workforce and you want to climb that corporate ladder, which I imagine anyone listening to a podcast is up to doing stuff, very important.
Yeah, I was going to say it does depend on what you're trying to achieve, I guess.
Yeah. And, sometimes personality hires will let you know everything under the sun. The person who's wanting to knock the CEO off the perch in the next 5 years, definitely not going to have the same approach in the 9-to-5 business career.
Yeah, where that person you spoke to is just, he wants a job, go home, and then forget about it. He didn't.
100%.
He's just there to work and go home.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So then as an owner of a business or a small business, what steps do you take to start figuring out that? So figure out what your 10 things you want to be known for.
Yeah.
Understand your values for the business and what they are. And do they align with your personal ones or what you want to go with, I guess?
Yeah. And the next step for me is always then about getting around people who are smarter than you. So this is where building, the first step we always give people is that personal brand, and the 10 things is definitely involved in that. So personal brand is things like colors, language, how you're turning up to things, what you look like. We've all jumped onto that Zoom call with somebody who has this stunning photo in the front, and then you look at the other side of it, they look and you're like, is this the same person? We have to look similar, right? My LinkedIn profile photo to me right now, same girl, right? Very clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
Personal brand, really important. High level network is always next. You need to be around people who are smarter than you. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room, because they're going to give you advice. They're going to challenge you. They're going to push you and not just say yes to you. And then we have to start communicating all of that. The next one, social media. So, and then once you have those kind of you know who you are, you have good people around you, and you're telling people who you are and what you're good at, that's where you start looking at media and PR. That's where podcasts will make phone calls and say, I want to talk to you. That's where television will go, actually, yeah, we do need to talk to you about this.
Yep.
You know what you're talking about. You've got some opinions on things. You're communicating them effectively. People around you have got good names around them. Media, PR, podcast, TV will jump at opportunities to get people on.
Okay. So does it really come down to having opinions, not just sharing information?
100%.
That seems to be the biggest thing.
Yeah, thought leadership. Yeah, thought leadership is everything, especially when it comes to visibility. You have to remember, so, prior to us jumping on, we chatted about podcasts. And I was saying about, I've been on a lot of podcasts, all good, got you, totally fine. You're like, we've recorded 150. I was like, that's incredible. Most podcasts, and the people who say, I have a podcast, the average podcast will only put out about 8 episodes with an average listener of 19 downloads per podcast episode. Those numbers for the amount of work that goes into a podcast are pretty abysmal. One of the key things is people think, 1, it's easy, 2, that you just get on and talk, 3, you're not going anywhere with it. That is absolutely one of the hardest parts, because you have to have thought leadership. What are you adding to an already overly cluttered situation? What are you going to add to this? I think it is a 1% activity. Podcasting well is a 1% activity. If you get past 20 episodes, you're already in the top 5% of business owners. Yep. But just having a clue about where you're going with this and what you're adding to already cluttered conversation can change your bottom line very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's a good tool. We found it as helps grow our network. So now I've met you. We haven't wasted 3 hours going to a cafe, driving there, driving back as well. So there's a benefit there as well in how much time it does save to grow a network. But we've got clients from it. That's not the aim, but it does happen. People reach out.
Yeah, of course. We look at visibility, and what you're doing here as a great act of this is that look at it as like almost being breadcrumbing a little bit. You're like, the social media is one thing, building the personal brand's another thing. It's just this laying of this foundational stuff, and this is where, you know, where this repeated activity gets results. It's if I'm sure that you would have, Anthony, if you read Atomic Habits, right? It's this
No,
idea of like
don't know the book.
10 out of 10, greatest business book I've ever read.
Okay.
And it's just this idea of, it's fine if you obviously eat well, you go to the gym going to the gym every day, and going to the gym for 6 hours today and absolutely beating yourself into the ground will have zero effect in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the gym for 20 minutes a day for the next 6 weeks will have significant impact. It is a repeated activity, and it is the sum of those activities. And so think of this as breadcrumbing, or the straw that breaks the camel's back. This repeated activity, someone's going to see it, someone's listening, someone's watching. And this is where social media people say to me all the time, I'm putting posts that I'm only getting a couple of likes. Yeah, that's probably true, but people are watching. If you want to watch the difference of this, stories are a great option. Put a Facebook post up or an Instagram post up, and then go put a story up. Watch the 4 comments you'll get here, and watch the 200 comments you'll get, or the views you'll get. People are watching. This stuff, there's a weight that comes with it.
Yeah, so
just repeated activity works.
Being present and just consistent. It's all about consistency.
Yeah, it's one hamburger, one Macca's meal is not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Eating Macca's every single day for 6 months might, though.
Yeah. So our podcast, I said, started in 2020. Our very first episode was in October 2019.
Oh,
and then nothing happened for 4 months.
Yeah.
Then we decided, all right, let's be consistent and try to get out an episode a week. And then it shifted to an episode every 2 weeks. So we've been consistent, but it does, it's over time, the activities build up, like you said, for people to realize and remember you.
Yeah, of course. And it's just that repeated touch point. We know the psychology tells us, I love the psychology of how and why we do things, but the psychology tells us that we need 9 to 10 touch points before someone will engage with us initially.
Oh, well, I didn't know it was that high.
It's really high. It's gotten higher since COVID. In places like the States, you're looking at probably 1 or 2. And as soon as you're on a stage, you actually make that 0. When you come into places like Australia, we have a much higher touch point. People want to look at your Facebook. They want to look at your website. They want to look at your documents that you've got. They want to look at everything. And that's okay. And we want that to happen. But equally, we need to make sure that those people, they're converting and they're making sales and they're doing that stuff. But we've got to give them the opportunity for those 9 touch points.
Yep, and have enough of that content available for them.
Yeah, of course. And that's where, having a high level network where people are saying your name, doing social media posts really, really help. Winning awards, being on a speaker stage, being on a podcast, all of these things add up very, very quickly.
Yep. So taking a step from, say, you've built up that personal brand, how do you then get, say, to what probably the next level is, which is going to be sort of like the PR side, where everyone just says, oh, do PR, but no one really knows what that means?
Yeah. People refer to us as a PR firm, and I always giggle and I was like, we're not a PR firm, but okay, I see where you're going with this. So PR is a really interesting one. So you think of the television right now. It's actually the one medium that I don't think is ever going to go away. Sure, it's changing, news is changing, but I guarantee you that if you go to your grandma's house or your mum's house, you're going to go in there and Today or Sunrise will be on in the morning. That's just how that one goes. And TV will always be around, and there's always channels and there's always niche things to look at. So PR is one of those things that is a 24-hour media cycle. If you look at how much content is constantly being put out, that Anthony, if I asked you this question, do your clients have to be in Australia time?
No.
Great. So you could work with anyone, pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we can do anything for anyone. That's what we end up telling them at some point.
Welcome to the 24-hour media cycle now.
Yep.
That means that you could have a story running in London, you could have a story running in Canada, and a story running in Australia, and you're going to hit a 24-hour wall clock, where for 24 hours in the media, your name is going to be said. There are tons of free ways to get media. Firstly, the first one for your listeners out there is go and sign up to something called SourceBottle. SOURCE. SourceBottle is amazing. SourceBottle are journalists that are looking for sources, and they are looking for a source right now. The next one is Collectively. They are the old HARO, help a reporter out. That is the US and British market. Journalists are constantly looking for amazing people to talk about specific stories. As an example for this, I have done so many stories for places like Qantas Magazine, Mamma Mia, Hamish and Andy, finance, Australian Financial Review, Financy, just to name a few, all for free, all on one platform because they needed someone to talk about what I could talk about, which was visibility. They are constantly looking for stories. Yes, you're going to have to kiss a couple of frogs in this scenario. You're going to have to definitely do some terrible podcasts to start with. Then you'll get some good ones, and then you'll get Hamish and Andy, and then you'll get these incredible opportunities that will come out of SourceBottle. It's so easy to do, and it blows my mind why people don't do them.
Yeah, I have tried SourceBottle a few years ago. I ended up getting interviewed on Ticker TV.
Incredible.
You know that one?
They're doing very well.
Somewhere on one of those Koshi, one of his networks as well, a couple of things here and there. And then I probably forgot about it and stopped doing it. So I'll be one of those people that you're like, why aren't you doing this more?
Why aren't you doing this more? Because, I mean, you got a television interview out of it. So this is the thing, and we'll use Ticker as the example here. Ticker is amazing. I'm a big fan of Ticker because they're now syndicated, which means I take that interview and give it to a bunch of other magazines and a bunch of other TV channels. Okay. So now it's not just one interview. You do 10 or 15. I did a Mamma Mia article a few years ago that blew up. It had over a couple of million views for this article, right? Well, my cousin in Canada rang me and told me I was on the front page of MSNBC. And I laughed because I'd done one interview 3 months earlier, and it's now blowing up in Canada, 3 months later. And they just released it. It went viral. Here we go. And I had so many inquiries. I had so many people, follow me on Instagram that later converted to sales. These things over time add up. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing just one of those things a year or one of those things a week, you do one social media post, one of those Facebook posts, one of those Calendly links, where you have one of those follow-up emails with SourceBottle, you've suddenly got 52 media appearances in the course of a year.
Yeah, which is different than just you posting to your LinkedIn.
100%. Very, very different. And it knocks down all those barriers. And suddenly you're a thought leader and you're doing cool stuff and people are like, oh, I'm really interested in working with her. I should call Jemimah. Yes, you should. Because it's not that difficult to do. It's just, honestly, we built this into a process way to make all of this take you less than 20 minutes a day for a reason. Yep. I don't want this to take people's whole lives. You've got other things to do, like running a business.
So having those systems available and just understanding how to use them the right way will make the difference. So I can see the value in that process that you have and 100%. How it helps people get there. Because that reach, you'll never get there on your own unless you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on ads. And even then, it won't be the same.
Yeah, because you're getting people that probably aren't related and aren't relevant to you. Whereas if you've got I get this question all the time about, well, what magazines should I be featured in? Where should I bother pitching? Because if you've got a good story, you're doing thought leadership, you've got a good brand, you've got okay social media, and you've got a cool story that you can tell, people always say, where do I go? And my question is always the same. Where is your ideal client already physically spending time? So what blogs are they reading? What podcasts are they downloading? What awards are they going to? What networking events? And where are they already spending money? What's arriving in their inbox? What coaches are they already talking to? You need to be in those magazines. Whoever they're talking to, whatever they're already reading, be in front of those ones.
Yeah. I think that's a difficult thing to try and find out and understand.
It certainly can be to figure that out early on. Absolutely. For us now, it's second nature. I can be like, well, you're who are you dealing with? Male, female? Straight away, I can give you a fairly good dynamic of where this is going. Yeah. But ultimately, if I got you into something like Founder magazine, that would be ideal for you. If I got you something into Entrepreneur Tech Hub magazine, fantastic for you. If I got you into Horse and Hound magazine, it's a nice to have. Yep. But if you've done nothing, then this isn't a bad option. Let's train you. Let's give you in the field. Let's do that. Practice. Versus this is terrible. Why are we doing it? Will you get a client? Probably not. No guarantees. Yes or no? No guarantees. We'll find out.
People who own horses are rich.
Maybe, maybe parts of that for sure.
Yeah.
But you are more likely to get clients, and this is we have the rule of say yes until you can afford to say no.
Yep. Yeah, it's always good if you can turn down opportunities that are the ones you don't want to take. It just takes a while to get there for some businesses.
Well, and it shouldn't. That's the other thing is I think people put this stuff on the back burner so much where we can take 5 years off your development, and it's like everyone should know you. We just think everyone should know your name. You're too talented. People are too talented and too smart to be the only one standing in their way. And I've never understood why people just don't go, oh, my competition won that award. Yeah, they entered. You didn't.
That's probably only the difference at times.
It's very uncomplicated from my perspective.
Yeah. So I'll put this to you, if you're a startup and so there's normally probably two sorts of startups that we deal with. There's the ones that are really young, out of uni, just having some sort of a job, and they got an idea and want to build the next tech startup product.
Yep.
Or you're been working in an industry for long enough, you know the ins and outs, you're an expert in it, but you don't have a brand or anything. You just then, all right, I know there's a problem in that space, so then I can go and I'm going to make a startup that solves that problem.
Yes.
How would you advise those two people, if they're the same advice or not, then how to build that brand when you've got nothing?
It's 100% the same, and it's exactly this process we just talked about. Very clear about what you want to be known for, and let's develop your 10 things. When we say 10 things, it is a bit of a throwaway number, but it just stretches some people and it makes some people rein some people in. So if I said to you, what do I want to be known for? And it is about leaving this legacy piece. I want to help people refine their message and work in visibility and get seen and get visible. I want to be able to do all of that. But it's very easy for me to also talk about growing up in the country. It's not relevant. And I can get very distracted talking about that because I should be sticking in my lane. This is why we always get people to do that straight away. Sometimes when we've had that early success, and which is where you're, the person that's maybe had some success already, not quite in the startup phase, it's about a course correction. What's worked has worked. Now it's about how do we actually start? What do we actually want to build now? We've accidentally built something. And as we all know, sometimes you will think you're building a business that is I've got a 2-year-old business. It's going to be it's like a 2-year-old toddler, right? You have this toddler, and eventually you're going to look at it and be like, this isn't what we thought we were getting, but here we've got it. And sometimes it's the voice of a crazy person that's coming out of it. And it's for that course correction stuff. We look at, where are you now going? What's your plan here? Where do you want to go? And at any point, we get businesses that have gotten, our biggest client's 135 mil, and the course correction just was around, we aren't doing any community impact. We're just writing grants. We're not doing anything else. It was like, we've got to course correct that a little bit. Whereas if you course correct at the start, you're going to change the trajectory and probably accelerate that success and that income. The next step we'll always look at, smarter people around you, start communicating to your audience and start telling media and awards that you exist.
Yep. Oh, very great tips there. So the real key, just a real summarized takeaway version from my end is, you just have to be consistent in what you're doing and understand what you want to stand for and have a plan for where you want to go.
Absolutely. And those steps, if you know where you're going, you have a clear personal brand, you have a good selection of people around you who aren't just yes people who are smarter than you, are going to push you. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, I'll say it again, you're in the wrong room. Good social media strategy to increase your visibility. You got the media, and then have to come knocking, and they're going to want to do stories on you. And then you have to win awards after that. It is just the process that people go through.
Okay.
And all of that is free to do. All of that is free to do. It's just about putting those processes in and committing that time.
And understanding and knowing what you can put out.
Absolutely.
So it's been an awesome chat, and there's so much takeaways from this. I'll just ask you one more thing. So for anyone listening, what's something they can go and do after listening to this to get started?
Yeah, great question. For those who are fairly new into this industry, I would definitely go and grab a piece of paper, and I want you to do the 10 things exercise. This is as simple as, what are the 10 things that if media called me right now, I want to talk about? Not what you could talk about, what do you want to be known for? That when Mamma Mia or Ticker calls or Foxtel or Channel 9 or Koshi calls, that you want to sit on that couch and answer those questions. What are the things that you want to be known for? And if you're talking about anything else, stop it. Firstly, stop it. That's a terrible idea, because suddenly you're deleting a message. And the second thing is, if you are a little bit further down that barrow, go and get on SourceBottle, go and get on Collectively, go and download those, get those mailing lists and start going through them. Set time aside, and know that at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock every day, they're going to come out, and you're going to have to fill them out. And be consistent with it, because that is the biggest difference here. Get consistent with what you want to be known for.
Be consistent. That's the biggest takeaway.
And also read Atomic Habits. If you really want to change your life completely, Atomic Habits will pretty sufficiently do that for you.
I'll check that out. I haven't read many books lately. It's all news and tech stuff online.
Just message me when you're done. I know you're going to love it.
All right. Thanks again, Jemimah. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.